Hi guys, Archie Luxury on the Archie Luxury channel. And today I've got a very special guest there. This guy here has some real life experiences, and I want to bring to my viewers who are, let's be honest, most of my viewers are Americans, they're men, they're middle class, they're in their most of my audience is probably late 20s to 50s. And these people here are prime candidates for white-collar crime. White-collar crime.
I hope that's some of the criteria, though. I hope that's never the case, and I hope I meet all of them under different circumstances. Though God forbid if it happens, I'm here to help.
So basically, I found Justin's running a YouTube channel, which I think is absolutely amazing. I got to be honest with you. I found Justin's YouTube channel, and I got to say, I think your channel is amazing. I think you're doing an amazing job. Now, just very quickly, I'm just going to introduce. So your name is Justin Paperny. Is that how I pronounce it?
Pretty close, yeah. Paperny, and my channel is White Collar Advice on YouTube. All you have to do is type in White Collar Advice, and you will see my videos on life in federal prison, life after prison, dating after prison, all white collar crime related. And I throw in some of my life experiences to make the lessons seem a little more authentic and real. But White Collar Advice is the channel, and my last name is Paperny.
And I've got to tell you something. This is not being rude to you or disrespectful. I'm addicted to poverty porn. Okay?
To what?
Sorry?
You're addicted to what?
Poverty porn. This is where people are in prisons. They're in, they had struggles in their life. I like to just see how hard life can be. And I got to tell you, one thing that's always concerned me is, what would you do if you went to prison? What would I do? What would I do? And I'm a lower middle class folk. I've never actually been to prison before. I've only recently went to court for the first time, but we're not going to talk about my case, of course. But the thing is, what happens mentally as a middle-aged person? It's such a change. Now, the thing about Justin that I love is that I saw so many channels on prison life, and most of these people I can't relate to. They were caught for drugs, domestic violence. I wanted a nice Jewish boy with a BMW and a Rolex. That's someone I can relate to. And Justin fits the mold perfectly. I got to be honest with you. When I was a youngster, I loved Wall Street. Yep. I loved shares. Justin, I bought a 3 Series BMW when I was 1 week before I turned 19. Had a 318i, and I had a Rolex, and I wanted to be a mover and a shaker.
Well, I can relate to that. I can tell you, as you're traversing the system, there are so many lows. In fact, some days you tell yourself, it can't get any worse than this, that maybe it's getting indicted or seeing your name negatively on the internet. Here in America, the Department of Justice loves to issue these releases, and it's like, well, it probably can't get any worse than that. Then you have to hire a lawyer, and they're not cheap. And then you may lose your job, and you may lose your licenses, as I was a securities broker at Bear Stearns and UBS. So I'm losing licenses. I'm giving a lot of money to lawyers. I'm losing my career. So in some cases, you're actually like begging to get to jail. You're like, all right, let me just get this thing started, because the process of this experience is the real punishment. Yes. In my case, it was 3.5 years. And I know we're not going to talk about your case, but you're enduring some of those anxieties.
It's all mental torture. Listen to this. Listen to this.
You're already in prison. You're just not getting credit for it.
Listen to this. The police come to your workplace or where you live. So the wife says, who the fuck are these two detective sergeants knocking at the door? If you're in a workplace, who the fuck are those guys? What do they want Jimmy for? And then all of a sudden, so you haven't even pleaded yet, right? Your boss is saying, excuse me, what exactly are you involved in? You know, the neighbors are looking. The neighbors are looking. You know, because the filth stand out like a sore thumb. You know, those bad suits with the bad sunglasses. I mean, they stand. They're not. They look like extras from a B grade Miami Vice movie.
Yep.
You know, and all of a sudden you haven't even gone to court, and you're thinking, shit. You're getting quotes from lawyers. You know, $1,000 an hour. You know, you think, Jesus Christ. And before you know it, your family's turned against you. Your friends, well, they just don't answer the phone anymore, Justin. They just don't answer the phone.
Well, there's some truth to that. You admit there's some truth to that. Some good people who you thought were standing alongside you will run quickly. Some will surprise you, though. People who you don't expect to stand up and support you absolutely will. But you've really, you know, unfortunately, when you see your name here in America, when it's Justin Paperny versus United States of America, you're just presumed to be guilty. It's very hard to, and let me be clear. In my case, I was guilty. I made terrible decisions, but as a federal prison consultant, I've had a number of clients.
Look, Justin, just between you and me, I've extensively researched your case, and the only thing I can say to you is I don't know what the fuck you did wrong. To be honest with you, my honest opinion is the only fucking thing you did wrong.
I did a lot wrong. Here's a shameless plug for my book. Your viewers don't even have to buy it.
Please.
But they don't even have to buy it. I don't want them. It's free. All they have to do, if they go to whitecollaradvice.com or my YouTube channel at White Collar Advice, there'll be a button where they can click to get the book for free. And it talks a lot about my experience, bad decisions I made, how I made bad decisions. I tried to cheat through lie detector tests, and I ate poorly, and I smoked.
Hey, I've been in car sales. I've been in car sales, sunshine. I can pass that test.
To learn more about what life in prison is like. Moreover, you know, you mentioned something earlier about the people in prison who might have come from different circumstances. When I got to prison, I realized the opportunities I wasted. Contrary to what you've said, I did some bad things. I deserve to be held accountable. You can question how long I should have gone to prison for, but I clearly crossed the line. But in prison here in America, right, we have very long sentences due to war on drugs, mandatory minimum sentences. So I really developed a lot of perspective and respect for men who were enduring such long prison terms. It made my 18 months feel like a walk in the park.
Now, Justin, let's get back more on track here. So sorry, I just wanted to give you, I'm just very excited. I'm very excited because you're a really, I love your channel. I think, as I was saying there, a lot of the other channels on prison life, like there's a great show called the After Prison Show, which I do love, but he was convicted for drugs, right? I can't relate to drugs. I've never done marijuana. I want someone who drives a 3 Series BMW who can talk to me about, you know, balloon payments. That's what I want to talk to somebody about, right? Balloon payments, whether you should get the C class or another. Now, the thing is, Justin, I love your channel. You're doing a great job. Now, let's just run this again. So you're running a YouTube channel, White Collar Advice. You've got a website. Your website is called?
We have 2 websites, actually. One is whitecollaradvice.com.
Yes.
And the second is prisonprofessors.com that I run along with my colleagues, Michael Santos and Sean Hopwood. But for many years, I had created whitecollaradvice.com really as a resource for doctors, lawyers,
I got to tell you,
business guys who need help.
Those partners you've got are fucking geniuses. That Mr. Santos, he's a fucking professor. He's a professor.
Well, Sean Hopwood, my other
partner. It's doctor.
No, so Sean Hopwood was actually just on 60 Minutes a couple of weeks ago. He served 11 years for robbing banks. Now he's a professor of law at Georgetown. And Santos, who I met in prison, is my mentor. And Michael served 26 years, and he really inspired and helped me get on track on the inside. So both Michael and Sean are wonderful partners, and I learn from them every single day. But they really set the tone for what people who are going to prison can accomplish. They prove anything is possible.
Now, I've got to tell you, in your case, let's just, so that's question. Now, I've sent you a few questions before there just so we can sort of steer this conversation, because otherwise I go off on tangents, you know.
Yes, so do I.
Now, so number one, we've mentioned your channel, your website. Okay, beautiful. Please, guys, go and have a look. I will put links in the description of this video on this live stream after I've finished. The next thing is what briefly happened in your case there. this is your involvement there. You were, I got to be honest with you, I really feel sorry for you. I think
I had a great experience through prison and life after. I don't ever need sympathy or pity. I did it. I owned it, and life is great. I don't need pity.
No, I understand. In your case there, basically, you were a young guy, ambitious, had all the, you know, money is hard to make in the world. You were basically a stockbroker, which is stockbrokers have kind of become redundant now that you've got online trading, but this was in the good old 90s.
Yep.
You were a stockbroker, and you had a client who was running an investment fund who was a little bit unsavory, but I believe you sort of looked the other way because you needed the commissions and you needed results. We don't want losers. We want winners. Winners are closers.
Well, so I graduated USC in '97 as a student athlete. I played baseball. I worked very hard to build my career as a stockbroker at Bear Stearns and then UBS.
What BMW did you drive?
I had several over the years.
What did you have? Just very quickly.
When I was 16, I'm embarrassed to say I had a convertible red one, which was no good. But then after I graduated, there's a photo here somewhere. I had a silver, like, I don't know, 330. Had that for a number of years. Then I went back to a convertible, then a 5 Series for a number of years. A 5 Series up until the time I went to prison.
What model? You don't know the model numbers like E30, E36? Oh, I don't,
like 535i maybe was
but the body shape.
328 was the convertible.
Let me tell you this, Sunshine. When I was 19, 1 week before I turned 19, I had a 318i as a demonstrator. You know how much that cost me in 1991?
Probably $30,000.
$36,244. Okay, and interest rates were 20% at the time.
Yeah.
It was painful. They were a nice car, but anyhow,
So to sum it up, I had a client that was managing a hedge fund.
It wasn't you. You never stole the money. It was you had a client who had a hedge fund that wasn't very successful.
He lost money. He raised money. He lost money. He raised money. So clearly he was continuing to raise money by lying to people, because had he told people, I'm down 100% this year,
he wouldn't get any more investors.
No one in their right mind would have given him 3 cents. So we learned that he was misleading his investors. We were earning significant commissions every month from $50,000 to $100,000. And rather than stopping what we knew to be a fraud, we enabled it by turning the other way, by trying to protect ourselves at UBS, the big bank, who later helped make the victims whole by scratch. They paid about $8.5 million, I believe. I contributed as well. It's because, of course, the hedge fund manager didn't have any money. So essentially what Judge Wilson said at my sentencing was, a lot of salespeople turn the other way for commissions. Many don't get caught. You did, and I'm sending you to prison. I did more than that, but that was the gist of it, essentially aiding and abetting a client's fraud.
Can I ask you this? This might be a bit personal. Before this happened, how much was your net worth? Is that rude to ask that?
No, it's not rude to ask. When I went to Bear Stearns, when I went to UBS at 26 from UBS, my partner and I got more than $1 million just to leave. So several $1 million, including owning apartment buildings and homes. And
you had this nice American success story.
I worked hard. I mean, I had some fortunate breaks. I'll own that. Going to USC, we were #1 in the country. Our baseball team. Being a baseball player, a number of my early clients were professional baseball players. So I had a break. And just working in Century City and being an aggressive sales guy. What's ironic is I always did it the right way. I was ethical. I was fair. I cold called. I cold walked. I always did it the right way. But doing it the right way doesn't mean that it's always going to go that way. And it was years into my career I made bad decisions. So, yeah, I built it up just through I worked from 5 a.m. to 10 o'clock every night. I worked my ass off.
No, I do understand that there. So, but basically, the shit hit the fan. Now, when you went into prison, did you lose most of your money, or did you manage to retain some of the money?
It was gone before I even surrendered, right?
So you virtually went bankrupt?
No, I never officially filed bankruptcy, but what's the difference really? So lawyers are hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some of them let you spin tails because, as you referenced earlier, you're paying $1,000 an hour. So it took me a long time to own what I did. I was in denial.
No, I'm not paying $1,000 an hour. I said that's what I've been quoted, $1,000 an hour. Let's just back the truck up, because that's kind of makes me. Okay, so I understand what you're saying.
The lawyers lost earnings, paying restitution. just the whole fallout. It's $1 million.
And not to mention, you probably paid the correct taxes on it, and then you're giving this money back. The government doesn't give you the taxes back and say, hey, this wasn't really income. Do they?
So $1 million, right? So $1 million in legal fees and lost earnings, et cetera, is like, you know, $2 million pre-tax. So yeah, it was a pretty big hit. What I went to prison pretty broke, but I was young. I was 33. I had a desire to succeed. I had some support from my family. A little stubborn in that I wouldn't really take financial support. I felt like I'd encumbered my family enough. So while I was on the inside, I just like Santos mentored me. I went to prison about 40 pounds heavier. I became a runner, a writer. Yes, I wrote my book that anyone can get for free from prison.
I must say one thing I found inspiring from you, right? I've always thought prison, you'd be on the verge of suicide. In my case, if I had to face prison, it's very, very tough, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to make a mockery of what you're saying, but you're not saying prison's good, but you're saying, hang on a minute, use this time to regroup. I loved your video. What you said in your video, which I loved, is that when you're in prison, there's bad food, and there's exercise equipment, and you got no mobile ringing every 20 seconds. You don't have you're not allowed to have a phone in there, right?
Well, some people here in America do have iPhones, of that I'm sure, but it's a big no-no, and it'll get you into a lot of trouble. But there's iPhones, paraphernalia, drugs, cocaine, marijuana, junk food, iPhone, alcohol, but I avoid all of that. My clients avoid all of that. There is value in being away from this damn iPhone, which we're glued to.
Yes.
And every time to introspect and think and create and write.
Yes.
So like I've said this before, I'm not insane, right? I'm not glad I went to jail.
No. We got to make that very clear. It's not a holiday camp.
To be there, I found sort of a sick, twisted irony in letting the taxpayer's dollar support and help me create a new life that would sustain me upon release. So while I didn't want to be there, I wasn't going to complain and sit in the chow hall all day watching the Kardashians or Sons of Anarchy and bitching and complaining. I wanted to get it together.
I want to ask you this, because this is leading on to our third question. What advice do you have? See, most of our people who are watching my channel are middle class or lower middle class viewers. What advice do you have for, we're good folk? Okay, we may have done something a little bit stinky, but we're not selling drugs, right? We're driving our European cars. We're wearing our Rolex. We're wearing Rolex. What advice do you have to people if you're going to go in? What advice do you have for somebody who's facing, going inside, that these are the type of people who have they never thought this would be possible? What advice do you have?
Here's the advice. The majority of people with whom I work or who are immersed in the system never expect they're going to become involved in the system, so they don't know how to respond. So it's essential that you ask the right questions, you learn how to hold a lawyer accountable, but moreover, you learn to advocate through your own efforts why you're worthy of the best outcome. I can tell you, any lawyer, whatever they say to a judge, it might be right, but that lawyer is paid to say those things. They're a paid advocate. So what you or any defendant has to do is learn to articulate through your own efforts what you've learned, if you did it, why you're remorseful, why you're genuine, what your plan is moving forward. And if you created victims, how do you identify with those victims? Even though your life may be imploding, it's not about you. It's about victims you may have created. So it's demonstrating that you can create a new record, that you're better than some bad decisions you made. And that is known to impact judges. It has to come through your own efforts, not just saying, oh, I paid a lawyer. My lawyer does everything. I don't have to do anything. Lawyers are paid to say those things. It comes down to what you do as the defendant.
I'll tell you something that really scares me. Okay. How the fuck do you stay safe in jail? You've heard so many people get raped in prison. You lose all your dignity. You've suddenly someone tells you what time to turn the lights off and go to sleep, and you might have a bunk buddy. How do you stay safe in prison? That's what worries me. If I knew I could stay safe, you'd think, okay, it's not going to be. Can I go to solitary full time for my sentence?
I can tell you this. Here in America, there's as much violence in a minimum security camp or even a low security prison as there is in a corporate office park or 7-Eleven. Okay. If you act like an imbecile in your community or in a restaurant, you're going to get beat up. Likewise, if you act like an imbecile in prison, you may get beat up. The people are sized on TV. It's nothing like that in real life. The number one value for many people in prison is boredom and overcoming it. So it wouldn't be in your interest to live in solitary confinement. There is no rape that takes place in a minimum or low security facility. That doesn't exist. It's only on TV. So being a white collar defendant and serving time in a minimum or low security prison presents a lot of benefits, in part because you have such a clearly defined release date. You're going to be serving time with other prisoners that also have a clearly defined release date. They don't have decades ahead of them, so there's going to be lower levels of violence. So there's nothing, no rape, no murder, nothing like that you need to worry about. What people need to worry about is making sure their 1 or 2 year sentence doesn't feel like 20 years. And that's the case if they're bored, if they're sleeping in, if they're watching TV all day, if they're complaining, if they're hustling, playing dominoes and blackjack and table games. So the goal is to create a proactive routine, and you got to work your ass off, right? It's not having a felony conviction. It ain't easy. The hardest part isn't prison. It's life before. The 2 hardest days are going to prison and getting released from prison, because it's like, oh my God, what's in front of me? That's what you have to prepare for, not stuff like getting raped or beaten up. That's just not going to happen. Presuming you don't act like a total imbecile, which I and my clients don't. And you can, let me touch on the dignity. You can have a great deal of dignity. Something that Michael Santos taught me in prison is you have to learn to control. You have to learn what can and can you not control. We can't control our bunk, maybe what time we eat, the job we have, days that we can visit. But you can control your attitude. You can control being proactive. You can control the output and growing your network and showing dignity to your family. So that was a big deal for me. A lot of prisoners flip out because they're like, there's no chicken or mail call didn't come today. Who cares? Nobody cares. Okay, so you can maintain dignity by embracing what you can and cannot control. So I had a lot of dignity in prison, frankly, and it doesn't have to be a dehumanizing experience if you don't want it to be.
Now, tell me this. So that's very, very interesting what you're saying there. What the next big thing is, how do I keep my family and friends? Do they drop off like flies?
I filmed a YouTube video recently, how to grow your support network in federal prison. The answer is anything is possible. You can go to prison, pretend as if you're on an island, separate yourself from the outside world, never write. Never in America, we can email in prison, never write, never email, never call, turn down visits. And yeah, in my case, in my client's case, we try to nurture our network. We visit, we email, we send letters of gratitude, thank you letters that appreciate and thank them for standing by us. And so you can grow. Santos grew his network. He wrote thousands of letters. He contributed to courses from prison. Thousands of people had a vested interest in his success. So sure, as I wrote in Lessons from Prison, which again, you can get for free, there are some people who will tell you to serve time by totally disassociating yourself from the outside world because it's too hard to stay connected. You let them live their life, you live yours. Then you come home and you're lost in a foreign land because you have no network. I encourage people to do it differently. Pick up a pen, send a letter, and grow that network.
Tell me this. Say, for example, you're married and have children. Would you advise somebody to say, if their wife wanted to visit them, would you encourage the wife to visit them and the children wanted to visit them? Or would you say, hey, I don't want you to see me like this. I don't want you to see me behind bars. I want you to remember me as the successful corporate man. I don't want you to see me in the fucking monkey house. I don't want my kids.
Remember I said a few minutes ago on offering advice, you have to work to create a new record. So that new record should be one of dignity, of accepting responsibility, and proving you can become better than some bad decisions. So the children and the wife are two different questions.
I'd prefer to just blame the government. I was set up. I would just prefer to say, I'm not guilty, fuckers.
But let me finish. I get that. I always encourage wives to visit. Now, prison is a great way for some relationships to end. And it's also, if a relationship's due to break down or it's breaking down, prison's a great way for us to say, you know what, let's just go in different directions, okay? But if you're strong and committed, absolutely wives, I think, should visit, presuming the prisoner has the right attitude. If a wife comes to visit and the prisoner hasn't shaved and he's pissed off and angry and I shouldn't be here and I got screwed, who would ever want to come and visit? But if it's an uplifting approach, this is what I'm doing every week to prepare to come home.
Yes.
Inspire wives and bring them closer together. The children question is one I've written and talked about. It depends on the age, the maturity of the child. the length of the prison sentence. So it's a much longer answer to that question. Generally, I'm in favor of children visiting, but there's myriad factors that have to be considered.
Okay, now that sounds fantastic there. The thing that I really loved about your channel, which I think is so interesting, this is my question: is there a light at the end of the tunnel? And you are so right. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is a life, because we're so stressed and pressured about this thing, this trial we're facing. We never think that it will end and things will get better. And in your case, you've become an inspiration. You're an inspiring man. You are now helping people. Who thought you would have been selling second-rate stock options? Now you're helping people in their nastiest, darkest hour. Obviously for a fee. We don't do shit for free on this channel.
But I actually do a lot of stuff for free. The reason I create YouTube channel is to provide
we don't fucking do nothing for free here, Sunshine. I can give you the drum.
I give away both of my books.
Yes.
For free. We have videos, we have content, we have courses. Look, here's the great irony. When I was in my 20s, I was opportunistic. I wanted to work with those who could really just advance my career or agenda. I didn't. It's like I would talk with you if you could help me. Then I went to prison. I lost everything, starting anew, and I just wanted to give back, as corny as that sounds. So I wrote this blog every day. I wrote my book. I came home. I also do a lot of corporate lecturing. I have clients like the FBI and USC.
Yes, I saw that. You sided with the enemy. You sided with the enemy.
I've gotten a lot of that over the years. When I lectured at the FBI Academy in Quantico, Virginia, it was to help agents better investigate white-collar crime. And if they did that, it would lead to shorter prison sentences for the people I care most about, white-collar defendants. So my objective clearly defined. So let me be very clear about that. But the point is, I wanted to give back through the blog and the book and the videos. And ironically, by giving back and not thinking about myself, that's when all these opportunities opened for me. And it's sort of a twisted irony. But yes, there is life on the other side, a better life than ever before. In part, you mentioned it earlier, I developed a great sense of perspective in prison because there were so many fine men who had endured so much worse than me, who didn't have the breaks and privileges I had in life.
I would say to you, you're really inspiring. I got to say this because, you know, one of the best things for me is I'm a full-time YouTuber, okay? And the most touching thing someone can say to me, it isn't some stupid fucking Google play button on the wall, okay? It's not, you know, the most inspiring thing for me that I ever received was a guy who's in fucking, he was in the Middle East war. He's an American soldier. And he said he could survive each day watching my stuff. He got a laugh out of my comedy.
Wonderful.
And that really meant more to me than money. It means more than that stupid 3 Series BMW. It meant more to me than you think, geez, I've helped this poor bastard who's in he's in a war zone with terrorists and nasty fuckers who are trying to kill him. He's just an American who's trying to do the right thing for his country, and I've made his day bearable. And I think you don't realize this. There are so many middle-class men who would be committing suicide who you've possibly saved. Do you realize that, Justin?
Well, thank you for saying that. And I know the feeling it has to help people. I've had those. It's an interesting life I had, and I articulate that to my wife sometimes. I've had calls where the phone rings, I pick up, and someone says, you know, there's a gun to my head. I'm looking at prison for 3 years, and my wife's leaving me, and I'm going to kill myself. And, you know, the only reason I haven't is because I saw a photo of you in a video at having sushi with friends after you released from prison, and I saw you at Disneyland with your family, and you know, you've had it much harder than me, it seems. And if you can get through what I can, it's like, you know, to have a gun to your head and to be thinking about, then what I tell them is that means the government truly is won, that your 2 or 3 year sentence is really a life sentence, and don't let them win. So I challenge people to be competitive, to be driven, to look at this as a little blip in your life. And so I know how good it feels to give back. And sometimes it is more valuable than money.
I was talking to a person who went to jail for a white collar. I'm not going to mention exactly what happened, but he said to me before he went to jail, he used to have trouble in the morning. He used to wake up in the morning like 5 or 6 a.m. Well, 5 a.m., right? He's still supposed to sleep until 7 a.m. He couldn't get back to sleep. he was so worried about his case and the torment and that there. The only thing that made him sleep again was the thought of putting a gun to his head and firing. You go, after he just visualized shooting himself, he could then sleep, say, oh, that's okay, I'll sleep now. That's how bad the psychology, that's how bad he had condemned himself. He hadn't even faced the fucking judge yet, and he was already wanting to die. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, I've had a number of those calls and some clients who have contemplated suicide. And again, it comes down to, it's really a values play. Most people say they value their family more than anything. And if they're going to live faithfully to those values, then they're not going to take their life, because then you can only imagine the
suicide is never an answer. I mean, suicide leads countless victims.
Yes.
Suicide is a very selfish thing, because you're basically, it's not for the living. You're gone. You don't even think about it. It's gone. But it's the family you left behind. It's the children who don't have a father or whatever. Yeah. This is the worst thing. Now, I wanted to talk to you before we wrap up. You're a huge Rolex man.
I wouldn't say I was that guy. When I graduated USC in '97, I bought into the myth. So I interned at Goldman Sachs and
tell me what you have. Tell me what you have. I'm so keen to hear what watches you have.
Really so I bought this in May of 1997 when I graduated USC. I think I paid, I don't know, $4,000 for this Rolex.
Please show us. It's an Oyster Perpetual.
Yeah.
Just a date. Is it got a date? It's got a. It's a date just.
A day just. And then actually after I pled guilty in Los Angeles in 2007, there's a jewelry mart in downtown.
Yes.
I actually went, and I have a couple others here that I bought.
What do you got? Tell me what else you got. What else you got? Tell me.
One of them is here.
Come on, get him, get him. We want to see him.
Here's one of them is here. The other one is upstairs next to the bed. This is an old school one. This is a Rolex Oyster Perpetual small. Look how old this thing is.
Yeah, it's a 34 mil. Yes, yes. You bought that?
After I was sentenced, I told myself, if I'm going to give all this money to lawyers, perhaps I can maybe treat myself to something. But I don't wear the Rolex like I used to. But it's kind of when I graduated, you're told you have to have nice things. So I bought a BMW, I bought a Rolex, I bought $1,500 suits, and I started to live and act like I was a multimillionaire because I was asking millionaires for money. And I immediately got in over my head, needing to make a lot of money every month to live. But this Rolex is a testament to my past, and I don't know if I'll buy another one, but I'm still proud to own it. I'm having a son soon. Someday I'll give it to my son.
Hey, that sounds fantastic. I've actually had a few watches myself, though. I had the solid gold Submariner.
It's a nice one.
I've actually sold that. I now got a Patek World Time.
It's a nice one.
And tell me this: if you are facing trial, what wristwatch would you advise to wear as part of your makeup? There, would you go for bling, yellow gold, white gold, steel? What's probably understated would be good, isn't it?
Yeah. Let me first say, for those that are innocent, and I'm sure you are, it's much harder to endure the system. For me, it was much easier because I did it. For those defendants that are innocent and have to spend the money and go through this effort, it can be much harder. So I really do empathize with you.
Yes.
I proudly wore my Rolex to sentencing, but I just wore a dark navy blue boss suit with a pair of shoes, a white shirt, and a blue tie. So I wouldn't be.
So you look like a defense attorney.
I looked a little bit like a defense attorney. That's correct. So
not too loud, just conservative. Well, the type of guy that you'd like to buy stocks from.
Yes. Yes. I still look like a stockbroker when I went to sentencing, even though I was a convicted felon. So yes. So
tell me this. Okay, now one thing you mentioned is that you thought you could take a watch into prison, but you're not allowed to take. They take it all off you, don't they? It's like the Gordon Geckos. You seen Wall Street too?
I've seen Wall Street more. I can quote the movie, my friend. So
okay, because he wore, just out of interest, I don't know if you know this, but in the first Wall Street, he had a gold Cartier Santos.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
And then they give him, when he gets released, one gold watch, one mobile phone. Remember that brick phone? That was a great scene in it.
And he should had it been real life. Unless he was remanded at his sentencing, where he might have been dressed nicely, most white-collar defendants are able to self-surrender to the prison after sentencing. So you have like I had 8 weeks to self-surrender to the prison. So my advice to defendants is don't surrender with anything you're not prepared to lose. As I wrote in Lessons from Prison, I tried to get in with a watch and they and a pair of shoes. But this is the prison industrial complex. It's about making money, and the prison wants to sell these watches and shoes to you. So I said, yes, I'd like to check in my watch and shoes. And they said, yeah, that's not going to happen. I said, no, but I have a watch and I need to tell time. They said, yeah, you don't bring in a watch to prison. So they took it. I've never seen it again. It's probably on some correctional officer's hand as we speak.
That wasn't a Rolex, was it?
No, it was a cheap watch. It was like a $40 Timex watch. I saw that they sold on the commissary. So I bought a similar type watch thinking they might let me in with it. Yes.
I understand. Now tell me this. I wanted to ask you, what services do you offer and how can viewers contact you if they are in need of assistance? So what services, like you've got a lot of free things you do. You've got your YouTube channel, you've got a couple of websites, but what services do you offer there?
So there's 2 prongs to our business. There's the federal prison consulting, which is helping defendants hire a lawyer, hold a lawyer accountable, work on character reference letters, work on the very important letter they'll need to write to a judge, trying to get into early release programs. If you get sentenced to prison, ensuring that you have a productive prison term where you're finding meaning every day, you're proactive, you're reverse engineering your way to success, having a very productive prison term. Then, of course, it's preparing for what can be the hardest part, halfway house, home confinement, and federal probation. And that really leads to the second part. Besides the federal prison consulting for all phases of the system, we have a marketing and branding company. Because as a convicted felon, you lose your license. Many clients want to go online and become small business owners. So we do branding work. We run Facebook and Instagram and YouTube ads. We create websites, help them grow and create products. We create content for them. We write courses. I've written 2 books. Sean and Michael have written books. We have ghostwriting services. So it's everything from branding and marketing to help run a business in prison and beyond, and everything that's associated with, my God, the FBI just showed up at my home. This could take 3 years. How will this impact the rest of my life? I tell people, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter the job you have in prison, the bunk you have, if you buy tuna, roast beef, or mackerel in the chow hall or the commissary. Nobody cares. It's beginning to make decisions and asking questions like, how will this experience impact the rest of my life? Envisioning what you'd like your life to be like, as I did. Now I'm 10 years out, and beginning to make daily incremental action. And that's much more important than, go work as an orderly instead of in the kitchen in prison. I give all that stuff away for free on YouTube. So it's branding, marketing, and prison consulting.
Okay, that's fantastic. I must ask you, just before we wrap up, and that one thing that's just come to mind I wanted to ask you. Yeah. You were single when you went into prison.
Yes.
Then you met your lovely partner after you were released.
Yeah.
How did you tell her? Did you tell her from day one, look, I'm a convicted con? How did you bring it up? Did you say to her, I've had trouble with the feds? Yeah.
So I filmed a video called Dating After Federal Prison. I touch on it. So initially I was very, because I was in this space, I was a writer and a speaker on ethics and white collar crime, and I had everything on my website. It would be very easy for people to find me. So I hate to say, it sounds sort of I tested what would work best. So I would tell someone over the phone, and then
this is dating. We're talking about dating somebody. We're talking about dating.
Like I would actually be on the phone with someone I was introduced to, or I was actually on a dating website. I'm a nice Jewish boy. I was actually on jdate.com, which is a Jewish dating website. And I was communicating with them, and I'm deciding, should I tell them on the phone? Should I email them? I always wanted them to know. The hardest and the most uncomfortable was actually telling them in person for the first time, because by looking at me, not to say it just, you wouldn't think that I'd ever been to prison. And it no matter how I told the story, it led to so many questions.
Like, we can't see the bad prison tattoos. Where are they?
No, I called home one time and told my mom I just got my first prison tattoo, and she went insane. I don't have any tattoos. I didn't see any prison tattoos. I ended up with Sandra, my wife. I told her, we spoke, and she said, what do you do? And I said, I talk about ethics and white collar crime, and I do consulting. In fact, I was on my way to lecture at Pepperdine Law School.
Sure.
And I sent her a link to my website, and I never heard from her. Then about a week later, she read my work and blogs and said, I applaud what you've been through. Let's meet. So generally, there was only one time. It was in Santa Monica at a restaurant called Pico One.
Yes.
I was on probation that I was introduced to, who was in town from New York, got up and said, I just can't ever tell my dad that I'm dating a guy out of jail. So just one time someone got up and left. But most other people, they were totally comfortable with it.
I must admit, I already have the same problems myself there. I tell people on my dating profile on POF or on Date in Asia or on what else? OkCupid. I have international YouTube celebrity. It's my handle, right? International YouTube celebrity, over 50 million views, blah, 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 blah. I have a picture next to my some of my celebrity fans, Ferraris, Lamborghinis. I got a Honda myself, okay? Okay. The Ferrari's in the shop, baby. The Ferrari's in the shop. And then they have a look at some of my videos, and then they say to me, hey, you seem to be going to Bangkok a lot. I said, yeah, I do. I love it.
I've never been.
Then I don't really hear back from them. They kind of say, So, yeah, I have the same problem myself. I might use those techniques to...
the technique that worked best for me was being totally open and honest and just getting it out there, kind of like ripping off a Band-Aid, say, this is going to sound crazy. I was just released from federal prison. I know it sounds odd. I made a mistake. I was held accountable. I'm happy to tell you what I did. By the way, I don't know if we'll ever meet. Felon, I don't think I'm allowed into your country. I don't think my father's going to Australia next year, but I'm not allowed in Australia, just like I can't go to Canada, which is a shame because Montreal is like my favorite city, but my conviction precludes me from, I think, Australia, Canada, and other countries. So.
Don't worry, there's no great loss in Australia. It's an overpriced Western world hellhole. Why would you want to come here?
It's a beautiful thing. I play a lot of golf. Some of my favorite golfers are from Australia. It looks beautiful.
Do you have any idea of the cost of living here?
I can't be any worse than Los Angeles. I can't be any worse than Los Angeles.
I live in Brisbane, third largest city in Australia. Average house price is $500,000. Starting price is $500,000.
Yeah.
You know how much a BMW 320i costs now here in Australia? They got a special 58 on road drive away for a 320i. That's not even a decent Beamer. That's what you brokers would call, that's a poverty pack Beamer. That's what you brokers would say there. Our cars are so expensive. A C200 is 70 grand here. A Mustang, a Mustang?
Yeah.
The Mustang convertible is 80,000 in Australia.
That's expensive. You seem, but more, you seem to love what you do, though. So, right? Do you love doing these videos? You seem to really, you're good at it. You seem to really love, providing value to people, huh?
Look, I tell you the truth. There, I've had things like I have had a billionaire fly me over to meet me.
Cool.
Right. I've got a racehorse named after me, the ArchieLuxury, the racehorse. Okay, I got my own. It's named after me. Right.
Yep.
I've met some amazing people, like these are business people who you really admire just for being so. I got a good friend of mine in Sydney, Dave. He's a brilliant accountant. He's a friend, he rings me. We're friends. This is a high class of friend I've got. I've got some amazing. I've had people who've all walks of life. It's not just. I've got people who are just really nice. It's amazing, and I got to say, look, the arts business is a very tough thing. In stockbroking, what does an average broker earn? 200,000 a year. What is success in the arts industries? Well, I tell you now, 30 grand a year is success in arts.
Wow.
It's like actors. What's a successful actor earn? Well, the very good actors earn a fortune, but the average is probably 30, 40,000. That's a successful actor.
That's any sales job. Real estate agents where I live. I'm out in Calabasas, California, which is made famous by the Kardashians, and they're right here in this community. Their agent probably makes $3 million a year, and the guy in the cubicle next door can make 30. So sales varies. It's all about relationships, and believing in what you do. And that's the point. You clearly believe in, I'm sure you can make more money doing other things, but you like this and you're good at it.
Well, I'm unemployable. This YouTube has destroyed my life.
Why? Why do you say that?
I've lost jobs. I used to be an IT contractor. I've lost jobs. They've seen my channel. I'll tell you what happened. I worked at this waste processing plant, and I used to get alcohol. Fans used to send me alcohol, so I used to send it to work because I didn't have anyone at home. And eventually the girl up front desk said, "Oh, what the hell are you doing?" I said, "Well, my side hustle is I'm a YouTube celebrity." So that went around the plant like wildfire. And then
I think it's time for, unfortunately, I think it's time for a book. When are your fans going to get the book? Come on. It's time for.
Well, I've done a movie. I've done a movie. I've done ArchieLuxury, the movie. I've done the movie. I've done a movie. It's an hour-and-a-half movie. You just look. You go to my YouTube channel. It's the lead video that plays. It's ArchieLuxury. It tells you the whole story. Anyhow, these bitches at Waste Processing, right? They suddenly didn't like my videos on marriage, how I said marriage is a scam, how I said I told the truths about marriage and divorce laws.
Truth as you perceive them. I'm happily married. I would do it all over again.
You obviously haven't been divorced 3 times like I have, you know, Jesus Christ. But the thing is, I got to tell you this. I became unemployable, you know. I used to work for a company, you know, called KBR, Halliburton.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
And when I got fired, I made a video, a personal message to Bill Utt. He was the CEO at the time from Halliburton. I told him what I thought of his fuck-knuckle company. Unfortunately, the new employers don't see the funny side to that. They think, oh, fuck, this angry, overweight, middle-aged man, we don't want anything to do with him. In concluding, I just got...
Here's something nice about that, by the way, because as a convicted felon, there's a lot of people who don't want to have anything potentially to do with you. And here's the beautiful thing that I've learned. You don't need everyone in your corner. You just, you know, James Patterson, a famous author, doesn't need everyone to buy his books, but plenty do. I don't need everyone to love my approach to preparing for prison. I don't scare defendants. I help them hold their lawyer accountable, which some lawyers don't like because it creates more work. I don't need everyone to be in our corner, just like you don't need everyone to be in your corner. We have people that believe in us, that support us. And you know what? If we're authentic, that's enough, dude. That's what I think.
One final question before we go. It's been a fantastic show here. What is the biggest lesson you've learned from going inside? What's the biggest thing you've learned?
The ends matter the means matter as much as the ends. Let me explain quickly. In my 20s, I was consumed with making money, getting the Rolex, getting the BMW, getting clients, making more money, closing big accounts, buying the house. I was just obsessed with the end. I didn't pay attention necessarily to how I was getting there. I was making bad decisions. I was becoming shallower and greedier and more self-centered. I didn't pay attention to how I got there. Now, the biggest lesson that I learned from prison was it's not just the end. We all want nice things, but the process that I employ to get there, my discipline, my character, my work ethic, my integrity, the man I would like to become, do my decisions comport with who I'm professing to be. So the means, what I do every day, matters as much as the end game. That was the light that went off in my mind, and it was transformational for me, rather than just obsessing about the end game. The means matter. That was the biggest change.
Could I give you a small bit of advice?
I'd be happy to. You can give it. Whether I take it, that's a different.
Okay. Here we go. Now I want 20. I want 10%. Okay. Okay. This is what we're going to do. We're going to rate. You're going to release another book called White Collar Advice 360.
360. Okay.
Okay. Now listen to me. Okay. Listen to me. Listen to me. White Collar Advice. Actually, we'll call it White Collar Advice 180. Okay.
Okay.
This is what we do. How the fuck? Which countries you should fuck off to so you can't get extradited? How to hide cash from nasty governments?
I couldn't write that book. There is no hiding. They get it all, and that's okay. The key when you get in trouble is to not make matters worse. They're very smart. They're good at what they do. They find out everything. You don't want to make matters worse. There are some defendants that do that. I'm not one of them. You can't do that.
Okay. I think you should do a White Collar Advice 180. how to run away and hide, which countries you recommend, how to transfer cash abroad. You'd know this. You worked in financial services.
Lastly, a lot of people say they do want to leave their city or where they live. And I say, stay right there. Own it. Don't run from it. Live your life. Don't be ashamed. You were held accountable. There are people that leave. I've had clients, a lot of people, I'm going to go to Mexico, elsewhere. They can do that if you want to. I'm a proponent of where you're from. Embrace it, own it. And, we're human. We make bad decisions. What I've learned about the system is because of the internet, it exposes the worst mistake that someone has made. So it's very easy to be judged for that. But people are mistakes and we're human. And, we're not.
If it wasn't for your crime, I wouldn't be talking to you today. If it wasn't for your crime, I wouldn't be talking to you today. And you're a nice guy.
Thank you.
I think my life is richer having spoken to you.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos and promote.
I love your videos. I hope you keep going at it. And
I don't do it as much. I need to do more. I haven't done one in about a month. I need to do more.
Yeah. The other thing you can do is with this video that we're making here, you can download it and upload it to your channel.
Yeah, I can do that. Good idea. There's a lot I can do.
It doesn't cost anything to do it, and it gives you good scope, But Justin, I want to thank you. We better wrap this up here. Justin, I want to thank you so much for your time. So if anyone is in a tricky situation on a serious note, they can contact you from the YouTube channel and your website. So your YouTube channel, White Collar Advice, that's the YouTube channel. I'll put a link in the description. Your website is whitecollaradvice.com.
Correct. White Collar Advice, ADVICE.com. White Collar Advice.
And your second channel was?
prisonprofessors.com.
And you also, how else can they contact you? What's the best way?
That's really, on the website, they get access to our many of our books and resources that are free. They can email me. My phone number is on the website if someone wants to reach out. They can get my book for free. They can text the word Liberty.
I don't know why you're doing books for free. I think
because I like giving it away. They can text Liberty, Liberty, or text to the number 44222. Text the word Liberty, and the book will actually be emailed to you in minutes.
Wow, that's amazing. I don't know if I approve of doing this stuff for free, to be completely frank with you, but
let me quickly. I like giving away free value.
You're not a communist, are you now? You're an aggressive stockbroker. Now you've turned into a communist.
No, inevitably, some people who find enough value in my book and work may choose to schedule a call and ultimately hire me. So there is a self-serving purpose to it. Ultimately, some people do retain me, but I like giving away value that people try to frankly charge for. That's what my videos and books do. You're a good guy. I'm going to stop this session now. Just stay with me on the line. I'll just have a chat to you after it stops. So I'm just going to stop. ArchieLuxury interviewing the world's greatest people, and very proud to have Justin on my channel. Go to his website, go to his YouTube channel, and keep watching ArchieLuxury